I am Supreme, and today's Astro Oracle investigation will be on Daniel Robinson. Daniel Robinson is a 24-year-old geologist. A geologist is a person who studies the earth, its structure, the composition, and history of the earth. Okay, he was a geologist who was last seen leaving his work site in Buckeye, Arizona. Okay, he has been missing since June 23rd, 2021. Okay, today is July the 9th, 2025. Daniel Robinson has still not been found. However, his vehicle was later found in July of 2021. Okay, a whole month later, his vehicle was later found crashed. It was turned over, crashed, airbags deployed, clothes was found outside of the car in the surrounding areas. Um, all his belongings was found in the car as well, including his phone and wallet. So they investigated his phone. Okay, they located some text messages, the last few text messages that could have gave them some clues that would have led up to his disappearance, because they found everything but his body. So we don't know whether he's alive or dead, and we don't know what happened. Okay, all they know is that his car was later found about 3 miles away from his work site. He was headed west from Buckeye, Arizona, leaving his work site. So he was out there at that work site, of course, with other colleagues, other work related colleagues. Okay, so it wasn't just him out there. Okay, somebody knows what happened. Either way it go, I'm going to conduct my Astro Oracle investigation, tapping into the etheric realm. Since nobody wants to come forth, this is why people like us exist. Okay, please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the bell button so you'll be notified when I drop my investigations. Okay, so I have the planetary alignment in front of me of Daniel Robinson's birth and the day he went missing. He was born January the 14th, 1997, and he was last seen June 23rd, 2021. Okay, so I'm going to be looking at the planetary alignment at the day of his birth. I'm going to pull a chart, and I'm going to pull a chart at the day of the last day he was last seen. And I'm going to compare the planetary relationships, how they relate to each other, to give me an idea on what happened. And we will formulate the stories from there. I will be also pulling from the planetary realm using Daniel Robinson's energy. Okay, I just seen 333 across the screen. So this is going to be a very good and accurate reading. Okay, I will be tuning into Daniel Robinson's energy. I've had time to spend in his energy before I logged on and started doing this reading. So his energy is in me as I'm shuffling this deck. Of course, the energy is in the oracle, which is me. It is not in the cards. Anybody can't just pick up a deck of cards and call themselves an oracle and give accurate readings. You have to be the oracle. Okay, the cards will just confirm the gift, and the cards is just one outlet of your oracle gift. Okay, so this is my spiritual technology that tunes in to the etheric realm. Okay, so hopefully law enforcement wasn't involved in the wrong way. Okay, now Daniel Robinson's father is actively involved in the investigation as well. Okay, he came all the way from Columbia, South Carolina, which is where Daniel was born. He created his own search team. He got his own search party together, Everybody's helping him look for his son. He's out there in the Buckeye, Arizona desert land, you know, that whole mountain region out there, uh, looking for his son, looking for any type of remains, any type of evidence, looking for, and I would be doing the same thing too. So, shout out to the father. So, when Daniel was born, the sun was in Capricorn and the moon was in Aries. His moon is in Aries. So we know how I divide time. The sun divided by moon cycles. So I put the moon in Aries in Capricorn's house, which is the 10th house. So when Aries is in the 10th house, Cancer is rising. This is a fourth house chart, home and family. Okay, now I have heard that Daniel Robinson is big on home and family. Okay, he had a very pretty good upbringing. This is why his family don't seem to understand how he went missing. You know, there's something more to this case uh, than what they are telling the parents, because they know their son wouldn't just go missing without keeping in touch. Okay, Daniel Robinson has a lot of fourth house energy. That's home, family, the mother, parents. He had a good relationship with his father. Okay, also Daniel Robinson, he had a disability. He had a missing arm. Okay, when you look at his pictures online, you will see, I think it's his right arm. It only comes up to here. Like the rest of this is off. He only has half of an arm. You know, and he didn't let that stop him. His father said he didn't even want the prosthetic arm or nothing, that he was completely courageous at attacking life the way he was, raw and uncut. Okay, and I don't blame him. You know, very strong human being. He didn't let nothing stop him. Okay, especially with his moon in Aries. Okay, now moon in Aries, they don't let Aries energy is the energy in us that does not matter, you know, what we look like, you know, or whatever happens to our physical appearance. We are head first. We attack everything head first. We don't need no filter. We don't sugarcoat nothing. Okay, when that Aries energy. I'm not an Aries. I'm just saying people who have Aries energy, because I kept saying we. But you know, we all have Aries energy. So in his birth chart, in his death chart, the date, not the death. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. I don't want to say his death chart because we don't know if he's dead or not. In his missing chart, June 23rd, 2021, the sun was in Cancer and the moon was in Sagittarius. And when you put the moon in Sagittarius inside of Cancer's house, which is the fourth house, Virgo is rising. The sixth house is rising. Okay? His work, his health, work ethic, all of that. So, what this tells me, because when I look at the birth chart, okay, and right before I pull the death chart, I automatically know. When I look inside the birth chart, I look at where all of the energies are, okay, and then when I pull the death chart, I see what energy is going to come first in the death chart. And in Daniel Robinson's missing chart, not a death chart, I see Virgo first. So what I do is I look inside of his birth chart to see how to connect the dots. Where was Virgo at in his birth chart? Being that Virgo is rising during the day he was missing. And that will help me understand the energy that came first. And we follow that energy and it will give us answers. Okay? So in Daniel's birth chart, Virgo was in the third house of travel. Okay? This is an individual we know that he is a worker who will travel for work, which is what he was doing. When Virgo is in the third house of travel, the third house is Gemini's house. Okay? So that is the house of travel and communications. Okay, so he has the energy of a person who travels for work related purposes. Okay, and these travels took him far out. Journeys, long journeys. And you know how I know that? Because when I look inside of Virgo's house in his birth chart, which is a sixth house, I see Sagittarius. Sagittarius in the sixth house represents a person that will travel far and wide for the job that they do. Okay. And being that Daniel was a geologist, okay, we're talking about a person who's studying the earth. So he is planning on traveling the whole entire earth for his career. That is his career. And I see that in his birth chart. Okay. Now, what I also see is that Pluto in Daniel's birth chart, you see Pluto, it is in Sagittarius. Pluto is the energy of death. Pluto and Scorpio. Okay, so I do look at where Pluto is and Scorpio is because that is the energy of transition. No matter how he transitioned, you will always find clues in the planet Pluto and wherever Scorpio is. So let's look at where Pluto is in his birth chart. In his birth chart, Pluto is in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is in the house of work. So we do know that the energy that manifested his missing and possible death would be through travel related incidences. Now, the car was found flipped over, so clearly he got into an accident. The airbags were deployed, all of that. They knew the car clearly was in an accident. And they said that somebody tried to start the car up after the accident at least 40 times. So if that somebody was Daniel, what happened after he realized he could not start that vehicle? Okay? Somebody must have discovered him along that path. We're going to find out who that was. Okay? So, in his missing chart, excuse me if I kept saying death. I'm so used to me saying death that I get it confused sometimes, but we don't want to get that confused. I do not want to continue to get that confused. Okay? He's missing. We don't know if he's alive or dead. Okay? He is missing. So, on the day he went missing, June 23rd, 2021, Virgo was rising. Okay? Now, where was Pluto at? Where was Scorpio at? Okay, so Scorpio would be in the third house of travel. And remember, Scorpio and Pluto represent the energy that would manifest his death. Okay, so Pluto was in Capricorn. Now, Capricorn, Daniel is a Capricorn, but also Capricorn rules law enforcement. Capricorn rules law enforcement. It rules an authority figure, a manager, a law enforcer, but also Daniel himself is a Capricorn. So Pluto, which represents the energy of transition, was in Capricorn the day Daniel went missing, but it was in Sagittarius the day of his birth. So when you put both, when you connect both of those Pluto alignments, Pluto in Sagittarius and Pluto in Capricorn, it will give us a story of somebody who will most likely transition with an interaction with law enforcement during their travels. I'm just reading the energies. Now, also when they searched his phone, they saw some text messages between him and a female where he was, flirtatious text messages, okay, where she turned him down and he probably got upset. But you can also see where he showed up at this female's house unannounced and it scared her. All of this they learned through the text messages. He was telling her, "Oh, do you hate me?" And she was like, "No, but showing up at my house unannounced is kind of creeping me out. It's making me scared." So, and I heard that this happened on more than one occasion. you know so I don't know, but what I do know is I see Pluto and Scorpio, okay, and Capricorn, all right, all in the fifth house of each chart. The birth chart, you look at Scorpio. You see Scorpio in the fifth house. That's Leo's house. That's the house of romance, love affairs, okay? And when Scorpio's there, that is sexual love affairs, okay? Sexual encounters, okay? Not relationship, but sexual encounters, the playful love affairs, the one night stands, and you know, the cuddy buddies, okay? Now, if you look in the missing chart, June 23rd, 2021, look in the fifth house, you'll see Capricorn, okay? You'll see Daniel. Daniel's energy is also in that house, the fifth house, okay? So when you connect the birth fifth house with the missing fifth house, you have Scorpio and Capricorn, Pluto energy and Capricorn energy, okay? And Pluto was in Capricorn the day he went missing, okay? So this death could be linked to the energy in him, this romantic sexual energy in pursuit of this sexual affair. Or he may have had energies rising in him to where he might have been on his way to go back to show up unannounced to the person's house. I don't know. But what I do know is that Mars, on that day, the planet of war, is in Leo. Mars is in Leo. Okay, and now Leo rules the fifth house. And if you look in the fifth house of both charts, you see Scorpio, the energy of death, the energy of sex and transformation, and you'll see Capricorn. Okay, that is Daniel's energy, but that's also the energy of law enforcement. So I'm going to be pulling a war card too. Okay, but first I'm going to pull a planet that's going to open up a chart where Daniel's energy itself is going to speak, because I'm tuned into the energy. I done shuffled the hell out this deck. I almost forgot I was holding it because I get so lost in the sauce of unraveling the mystery of how energy can tell an entire story if you know how to read the energy. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell button so you'll be notified when I drop these investigations. This is not just a divination. This is a science. So, let's talk about the eighth house of death. Okay, we talked about Scorpio, Pluto, Capricorn, right? Now, excuse me, in the eighth house of his birth, Aquarius energy colors the way Daniel transitions. Because death is not just about leaving the body, it's about leaving one situation going into the next. It could be the body, it could be a job, it could be a relationship. Okay, so how Daniel's energy of transition takes place, it's very unique, very outside the box, and it may involve more than one person because Aquarius represents the group, the team. Okay, so also, not placing any judgments, I'm just reading the chart. Aquarius in the eighth house is also about sex. And when Aquarius is there, this is a sexual energy that's outside the box. So it could be an individual when you have Aquarius in the eighth house, because the eighth house is not just about death, it's about sex. That's Scorpio's house. Scorpio rules death and sex. Okay, so this can be somebody who they have a sexual attraction to things that are outside the box, such as other races. Okay, these are the people that have mixed children. Okay, these are the black men attracted to foreign women, the black women attracted to foreign men, the white women attracted to foreign men, black men. You know, just the whole, I don't want to make this a black and white thing, but you know what I mean, foreigners. Okay, I want to be careful with my verbiage too. because I'm very transparent and I don't want anybody to think at one moment that I'm trying to shed emphasis on one race more than the other. But y'all know what I mean when I talk about foreign. These are Aquarius in the eighth house represents a sexuality that is attracted to it's a foreign sexuality. Not like Sagittarius. It's more like it's rebellious. It's like almost like, oh, I know that I should not be doing this, because people are going to say something about it, but I just want to do it. Something about when you do something that you know you're not supposed to be doing. Not that we're not supposed to be having sex with other races, but I'm just saying it just is it adds this spark to it, you know, that increases the sexual attraction. That's Aquarius in the eighth house. It's outside the box. Leo is the opposite of Aquarius. Leo does everything for a round of applause. So I'm quite with that energy, it takes other people into consideration. It's a people pleasing energy. Leo energy is very important, but so is Aquarius energy, because Aquarius in the eighth house, they don't need a round of applause for what they like. They don't give a fuck what other people think. So that's why Aquarius in the eighth house also is the energy of homosexuality. Okay, it is also the energy of sexual abominations. Okay, meaning, I mean, it is an abomination. Not that it's wrong, because it's real, but it is. We can clearly see that the dick was made for the pussy. It wasn't made for the ass. But people do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, pussy was not made for pussy. Two pussies together. That's common sense. It's not judgment. It's common sense. Something that everybody can see. But a lot of us in humanity, for some reason, our mind does not think like that. So therefore, the reason why we may be like that is deeper. It's psychological, okay? Because by nature, it's not like that. And we can clearly see that. But it's real, okay? It's a very real thing. And we have to learn how to live with that in the world, okay? Without making people like that feel like we're better than them. Okay, because you're not. Just because you may not be gay or you may not be homosexual does not make you better than any other human that is. Okay, because nobody is perfect. Nobody on this planet is the way things were at the beginning of creation. We're all over the place. We're all warped in some form of fashion. Nobody, and I mean nobody, has it all together. So don't let nobody fool you. All right? So just love people for who they are. Everybody's learning their own lessons. Okay? And that's that. Let me pull this deck because Daniel Robinson is ready to speak. Saturn in the fourth house. Saturn is the planet of restriction. Okay? That is the planet that belongs to Capricorn energy. Okay? But when it shows up in the fourth house, that means that this is a strict upbringing. What was so strict about Daniel's upbringing? Because we do know he is a fourth house individual, but that doesn't mean that this card is going to take us back to this chart. This card is going to take us to wherever Saturn is the day he went missing. Okay? But it's also going to pull a chart of where Saturn was on that day. So Saturn, June 23rd, 2021, was in Aquarius. Just got finished talking about Aquarius energy. So when Saturn and Aquarius is in the fourth house, that is a Scorpio rising chart. That is an actual eighth house chart. And I just got finished having a whole sermon on the eighth house. That is the house of death and the house of sex. Okay? And this is where Saturn is, June 23rd, 2021. Saturn was in Aquarius, and that's why this card is the Aquarius in the fourth house card. Okay? Scorpio comes first. This was about death and sex. Okay? This also is telling me that there was some restrictions that Daniel came from in his household growing up. There were certain things that was allowed and certain things that wasn't. Okay, he had a very strict father, very strict upbringing, because Saturn represents the father figure. Okay, the father figure is all about the law and order. He makes sure the family and the children grow in harmony with law and order. That is the purpose of the father figure. Anything outside of that law and order, okay, now becomes a problem. Okay, and when you have Aquarius there in the fourth house where the father is, Aquarius will definitely be the problem child. Okay, like I said, remember, nobody's perfect. Okay, that doesn't mean his father didn't love him. Okay, what that means is that, Daniel just had an energy. I feel like this energy that triggered whatever happened to Daniel stemmed all the way back from childhood. The restrictions from childhood. And we already know that Daniel was actually different from other children because he had a missing arm. Okay, a whole half of his arm was missing. Okay, so that's also Aquarius energy too. Okay, so we do know he had a very different upbringing, very strict. Okay, so any bit of freedom, any taste of freedom that would have made itself available for Daniel, he would have been going after it because Aquarius is about freedom. Okay, this is about freedom from law and order, and we all want freedom from law and order because although, things have a way that they're supposed to be, um, we're not all lined up with the way things are supposed to be. Remember, I told you I'm going to pull from the war deck. Okay, things are not always lined up. None of us are lined up with the way things are supposed to be. Okay, so we have to learn how to live with that without making ourselves feel guilty and be like, okay, well, I'm not perfect, so let me go kill myself. No, nobody's perfect. Okay, do the best you can to try to align yourself. Serenity, accept what you can change, accept what you cannot change. Develop courage to change what you can and the wisdom to know the difference. Do not kill yourself trying to become perfect. And that's coming from my mouth. Do not kill yourself or hate yourself for not being perfect. I don't care what a Christian tells you. I don't care what a Catholic tells you. I don't care what a Muslim tells you. Okay? Do not be out here killing yourself and hating yourself because you do not meet perfect expectations of these perfect laws and orders just because this is the way things are supposed to be. Okay? So, love yourself. Do the best you can to love yourself and fix whatever you can. Whatever you can't help, oh fucking well. Everybody else will be the fuck all right. Let's get back to Daniel. I'm sorry, I had to get that out. So, where's Daniel at in this 8th house chart? Okay, now Daniel is a Capricorn and he is on the road in the 3rd house, traveling. Where was he traveling to? Okay, where was he traveling to? Well, this is Gemini's house. The 3rd house is Gemini's house. So where's Gemini at? Gemini is actually in the 8th house. He was traveling probably for sexual related purposes in the local environment to somebody's house that he probably met. Probably on his way to show up unannounced like he'd been doing with these other females. Or this just might have been the same female. And you never know, it just might have been the male. We don't know. We don't judge. Yeah, don't get me back started with the sermons. Let's stay focused on Daniel. So, now his moon was in Aries, okay? And where was Aries at? At work. Remember, he was a geologist. That was the last time he was seen leaving his work site. Okay? Now, where was Mars? Mars was in Leo. Okay? Where's Leo at? Leo is that romantic. He's in pursuit of this romance. Where's Leo at? In the 10th house of success. He's pursuing. This is like a goal. This was a goal. Okay? He was on his way to pursue. He was on his way to go see somebody. Okay? He was on his way to go see somebody. All right? Now, being that Saturn was pulled in Aquarius in the 4th house, okay? This is definitely an energy that stems from his childhood. Okay? Um, I'm going to pull from the war deck, okay? Because this Mars energy, all right? Because also Aries is in the 8th house of death on the day that Daniel Robinson was last seen. Okay, so when Aries is in the house of death, that is a self-inflicted death. Does that mean that Daniel committed suicide? No, but it could be a self-inflicted death means there is an energy buildup inside of a person that can make them do things that would eventually lead them into a situation where they got into an accident or they got into an altercation with somebody and that person ended up killing them. That is a self-inflicted death because they allowed whatever was brewing in them to control them to the point where they started lashing out at people in ways where somebody else felt like, well, damn, this person act like they can't get touched. And then they end up getting touched. That is a self-inflicted death. Okay? Speeding on the expressway because you're mad and somebody hits you. Okay? Was it that person that hit you that caused your death? No, that was the hold on, let me get this Saturn in the 4th house card. Okay? Is it the person that hit you? Yeah, they hit you, but this was also a self-inflicted death. Because had you wouldn't have been angry and allowed your anger to speed down the expressway, that person would have never hit you. You would have never ran into that person. So yes, that was a self-inflicted death. That is what it's like when Aries shows up in the house of death. Okay? Now, Mars was in Leo. And Leo, the day that Daniel went missing, is in the 12th house of Pisces, the house of the hidden. And Leo represents this romantic affair that was hidden, something he was hiding, who he was going to see and who he was messing around with. He had a lot of hidden romances. That's why they found this out when they were searching his phone. Okay? Um, these hidden romances had an element of rebellious to them. Okay, these could have been foreigners, and he may come from a family that doesn't really promote foreign relationships. Okay, it could have been a homosexual romantic affair, and he comes from a family, Saturn in the 4th house, that doesn't, promote homosexuality and sexual abominations. Okay, somehow this self-inflicted energy in the house of death has a lot to do with the restrictions coming from the home life of Daniel Robinson growing up. Okay, because Saturn would not have been pulled in the 4th house. All right, so this hidden romance, and look where Pisces is at, being that Leo was in Pisces' house, this hidden romance in this chart that was pulled with the card, the 8th house, he was in pursuit of this hidden romance. And you know how I know that too, Leo in the 10th? Because look where Pisces is at, in Leo's house. This hidden romantic partner. But something happened along the way. Yep, something happened along the way. And we got to find out what that was that happened along the way. A dispute at work in the 6th house. I knew that 6th house was going to come out one way or the other. There was a dispute at work in the 6th house. And look, his moon was in Aries that day. Okay? In the 6th house. And Aries is the energy of dispute. Okay? This dispute. All right? This dispute that took place. There was an argument that took place. Okay? And what was this argument about? Well, let's follow Mars. Mars was in Leo. So that's when this pursuing romance, that's when this energy becomes the boss. This could have been an argument with a boss or law enforcement, because the 10th house is also law enforcement. Okay? Especially with Leo there. That's law enforcement. Because the Leo dramatic energy of law enforcement represents the flashing lights of the police and all the drama that takes place when the police. That's Leo energy in the 10th house. So he could have got into a dispute with law enforcement. Okay? Now, What? Hold on, because I don't want this card to fall. Because this deck is trying to fall off. All right. What was this about? This is my about deck. What was this about? I'm going to try to end this reading at 40 minutes because I'm at 34 minutes already. I don't want them to be too long. But I do want to bring justice to Daniel Robinson's family. So, what was this about? This dispute. Okay? Because in Daniel's first house, look how the energies line up. Okay? So, all right. In his birth chart, the fourth house, look where Aries is at. It's in the 10th house of success, right? Now, the day Daniel went missing, look where Aries is at. It's in the 8th house of death. Okay? Aries rules Mars. Okay? So, we do know that Daniel was in pursuit of success. He was going to be something. And he wasn't going to let nobody stop him. Aries in the 10th house, everything in the 10th house represents success and pursuit. It represents public achievement and status, but it also represents authority figures, okay? And what we become at the top of our game, all right? So in his pursuit of success, he was very in pursuit of success. However, Daniel's Mars was in Libra. So he had a lot of disputes and run-ins with individuals one-on-one. And sometimes these individuals could have been police officers. Okay, Venus rules Libra. So his Venus was in Capricorn. And he is a Capricorn, but Capricorn also represents the father. So we do know that him and his father had some run-ins too. Okay, yeah, his father was out searching for his son because at the end of the day, that's his son. Never think that a father and son's relationship is perfect, because it's not. But at the end of the day, he's still going to find out what happened to his son. Okay, no matter what status they were in at the time. Okay, but Daniel did have some run-ins with his father. Okay, now, the day Daniel went missing, Venus was in Cancer. Okay, now what that says is that there may have been a phone conversation going on with his family. There may have been a dispute that was going on with his family. We will never know that. And it probably put some type of energy in him. There might have been some arguments going on between him and his family members. Okay, and or either him going home, maybe he wanted to go home, I don't know, but I do see an altercation that took place with the family and the father figure. Okay, now in the chart that Daniel pulled, Aries is in the 6th house of work. Okay, so this dispute was definitely a Martian dispute. Mars is the energy of war. What was he fighting about? What is this all about? Well, let's pull a card. The 7th house. Status. The 7th house. Relationships. That's Libra's house. Okay? Now let's follow this status right quick. Okay? Because in the house, the oracle chart, okay, that Daniel pulled in the 7th house, you'll see Taurus. Okay? This is about a financial status. When Taurus shows up in the status, in the house of relationship, this was about somebody's financial status, the significant other's financial status, material status. Okay? This is what this dispute was about. All right? Now, where is Libra at? Because Taurus is in Libra's house, and the 7th card is Libra's house. But Taurus is there. That's how we know this is a financial status. Libra is in Pisces' house, the hidden. This is a hidden relationship. Okay? This is a hidden relationship. Okay? This is talking about financial status. Now, this could have been somebody trying to attack Daniel's financial status that he was fooling around with. Okay? This could have been someone trying to attack Daniel's financial status because Venus was in Cancer the day he went missing, and Cancer is in the house of the foreigner, the 9th house, which is most likely somebody that's from wherever he was at. But wherever he was at was definitely a place far away from his home. That is why Sagittarius' house represents long distance travel. And when you see Cancer there, that represents, in this case, somebody that he met from another race, another culture. But he's on their land. He's in their state, in their city, in their country, in their region, because that's where they're from. Okay? So this is somebody that he could have gotten a run-in with their status. Or somebody about his status, his financial status. Okay, he probably realized that, or not even realized, something probably cropped up to where they figured, Daniel probably came to a realization about something that somebody was trying to be with him just because of his financial status. Because remember, he was a geologist. Okay, I'm quite sure they make a lot of money. Okay, they travel the whole earth. Okay, and they unravel mysteries concerning the history of the earth, the formation of the earth, and all of that. They're very smart creatures. Okay, I mean, we're all creatures, but he's a very smart creature. A geologist, a very smart creature. Just like I'm an astro oracle creature. I'm very good at what I do. Whatever it is that you do, you are a creature that is very good at it. So we're gonna find out who is responsible for your disappearance. Who is responsible for Daniel's disappearance? And where is he at? Because once I pull this who, I'm going to also pull the lost and found. And then we're going to end the video. Because lost and found is going to let us know where his body's at. Dead or alive. So who? And please don't let Capricorn come out. Because that's going to let me know that it was law enforcement. But also, being that Aries showed up in the house of self-inflicted death, when Capricorn shows up, it just might be him committing suicide. Or the self-inflicted type of death that I explained earlier. But something tells me that a Capricorn card is going to come out. Or either something in the 10th house. And that's going to let me know that law enforcement was involved. Okay, if something comes out in the 6th house, that lets me know that somebody from his job, that team he was traveling with, is involved. So, who? We want to know who. Who should we be zooming in on when it comes to the disappearance of Daniel Robinson? An accessory in the 8th house. This accessory in the 8th house, remember I told you he was traveling to go see somebody in the local environment of where he was at, over there in Buckeye, Arizona? This is the accessory. Remember I told you he's the Capricorn that was traveling that day. In 3rd house, he was on his way, Gemini energy, to go have some type of sexual encounter with somebody, in the 8th house. Or he could have been on it. This person probably felt like he was on the way to kill them. He probably had this strong energy. Anytime somebody shows up at your house and you clearly told them that, you showing up at my house is scaring me, and he did it again, that means that person is controlled by an energy that you have to watch. Because that's obsession. That's borderline obsession. That's stalker, predator vibes. So maybe this person called the police and they was already looking for him. And they probably found him while he was en route to this person. And they probably did something to him. But the accessory is in the 8th house. I'm going to pull one more who card because we really want to find a suspect. So I'm quite sure law enforcement was involved. Okay, and maybe this person called the police and they was already looking for Daniel. And this person probably told them where they can most likely find him. So the fact that he got into an accident, okay, and he probably called the police. He probably didn't know the police was looking for him. But when they found him, they realized who they found. Okay, he would have been easily identified because he has a missing arm. Okay, so once whoever called the police on him would have gave his description, they were like, okay, African American male, over here in this area, Buckeye, Arizona, I guarantee you, probably 8 people out of 10 in that area has a missing arm. But I'm quite sure he was 10 out of 10 in that area. Okay? Because he was also African American. So, you know, let's see, Daniel. Another eighth house. Witness. Yeah. So you see these eighth house cards, it's not making it up. Okay? Because this is the house that was pulled. This is the card that was pulled first. Okay? So look at all these eights. Okay, and in the eighth house, you see Gemini energy. Okay, that's the local environment. That's somebody in the local environment that was a witness. Somebody witnessed what happened to him. And it could be law enforcement. Okay, because Capricorn in the third house also represents law enforcement. Okay, not just Daniel's energy because he was a Capricorn, and not just the father. Okay, but this is also representing law enforcement in the local environment. Remember, I told you Leo is the dramatic aspect of law enforcement. Police sirens, drama, chaos, all of that. Shooting, violence, all of that. So, he may have gotten pulled over, or this may have been a police chase. Okay? He probably knew somebody was after him. They probably told him, look, I called the police on you. They're looking for you. Okay? So, these eights, don't sleep on them eights that's coming out. Because you can see Daniel is clearly communicating. Where is your body, Daniel? Where is your body? Lost and found. We're going to pull this card and we're going to close it out. Where is the body of Daniel Robinson, dead or alive? Where is the body? Where is Daniel Robinson's body? Where is Daniel Robinson's body? There may have been a family member involved, but I don't think that, because I'm looking at Aquarius energy and Cancer energy. There's a lot of that energy blended together in all these charts, but that also means an individual from another family. Okay? This could have been a family member of the person who he was trying to come on to. He seemed like the type of person that don't want to accept no for an answer. Okay, based on the text messages that they found in his phone that gave them some clues that would have led up to his disappearance. Listening to that investigation about the text messages let me know that he's an individual that did not know how to take no for an answer. Especially when he could show up at your house unannounced twice. Especially after you told him that it made you feel uncomfortable the first time. That's the individual you got to watch. And that may have been one of his demons he was suffering from. The demon that made it difficult for him to accept no. But there's a reason why. That demon is attached to specific insecurities that made it difficult for him to say no. Fire and destruction. He may have been shot, okay, in the 6th house. Okay? This may have happened close to where he's at, the work site. Okay? Because he was last seen leaving his work site. And this is the work site card, the 6th house, where this dispute took place. Okay? Fire and destruction. Okay? In the 6th house. Okay? Because there was already a dispute. Okay? So, I don't know. Maybe law enforcement stopped him. Maybe law enforcement stopped him. Maybe there was a call already in progress about him. I'm going to pull from my evidence deck. Okay? Is there any evidence that can lead us to Daniel's body, dead or alive? We need to know any evidence that will crop up that can lead us to Daniel Robinson's body. But yeah, I'm almost certain that he might not be with us. He may be no longer with us. Okay, because I'm connecting the dots and they're all leading to death. So a self-inflicted death at that. Due to this dispute, and he had a temper, and his temper came out in his dealings with one-on-one people because his temper was in Libra, and Libra represents cooperation with another. And when Mars is there, it represents this cooperation being a challenge. Okay, and the day that he went missing, his Mars was in Leo, which was in the house of law enforcement. Drama with law enforcement. You don't want drama with law enforcement, okay, because they'll take you out. So I'm seeing that may have been, look at that, another sixth house card. Latent prints. Okay? Latent prints is fingerprints, palm prints, and footprints. When they search around that field where his car was found, that is where they will find the evidence to know that Daniel was not alone. Also, they will find fingerprints probably on that vehicle. Mm. Yep, the work site. It's not lying. All these sixes, this is the work site. All right? And he was last seen leaving the work site. And these eights right here, and this eighth house chart that was pulled with Scorpio energy, is about death. Okay? Sexual energy. Okay? Obsessive energy. Possessive energy. Okay? That could have been built up. Okay? And travel. Gemini represents local travel. He had a run-in with somebody while locally traveling, and they might have shot him and took his body. Either way it go, there will be prints that they will find right at that work site. There will be prints right on the site of where he was last seen, because his car is not far from that site. Y'all tell me what y'all think in the comments below. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell button. Y'all be blessed.